Ngayong says there is yet no formal notice of termination of peace talks with a communist-led National Democratic Front. Presidential spokesperson Ernesto Abella clarifies that clearing operations in Marawi City are still ongoing despite the estimated 300 hostages being held by the Maute group terrorists. Pag-asa forecasts more heavy rains in Metro Manila and Western Luzon due to Tropical Storm Gorio, which continues to intensify the southwest monsoon. The House Committee on Appropriation is now preparing to scrutinize the 3.767 trillion peso national budget proposed by President Rodrigo Duterte for 2018. The government peace negotiating panel is yet to receive a formal order from President Rodrigo Duterte terminating the talks with the communist rebels. Chief Negotiator Sylvester Bello III said a formal notice of termination of the peace talks needs to be submitted to the communist-led National Democratic Front and the third-party facilitator. Meanwhile, Malacanang assured that the president is in good health. Rocky Ignacio reports.
President Rodrigo Duterte's health is in better condition. Presidential spokesperson Ernesto Abella said this following the challenge of Communist Party of the Philippines founding chair Jose Maria Sison that the president should make public his health status. Sison had denied President Duterte's statement during his second State of the Nation address that the communist leader has colon cancer. According to Abella, there is no need for a medical bulletin on the president's health since he is transparent about his condition.
Those are two different issues. The president has again and again declared, and we can see that he is pretty much in control of his physiology. He seems to be in the best of health.
President Duterte ordered the suspension of the peace negotiations with the CPP, NPA, NDF after questioning their sincerity to end insurgency in the country. Abella clarified up to now there is still no formal notice of termination of the peace talks following the president's directive. According to Government Peace Panel Chief Negotiator Secretary Sylvester Bello III, they are waiting for the final order of the president to terminate the talks with the communist group. Bello explained that it is a normal process to submit a notice of termination to the NDF and to the third-party facilitator.
I cannot over-explain him. You know, I just have to go by what he said. Okay.
Sir, so wala pa po bang notice of termination?
Wala po. Officially, there's none. However, those are his. You could say that at this particular stage, those are his directives, unless otherwise.
President Duterte has already expressed dismay with the action of the Communist Party leadership, but Abella assured it has nothing to do with some left-leaning members of the cabinet. According to the palace official, they continue doing their jobs.
Magkaiba naman kasi magkaiba naman yung NPA at yung mga cabinet members. They're responsible. They're not members of NPA as far as you can see. But ang mahalaga is that they're doing their job in their agencies, in their departments. Yun na po.
Rocky Ignacio for The Nation.
The present state of relations between the government and the left is not cold or frosty. It is completely on ice as both sides continue to play the blame game on each other. Still, a number of senators remain positive and offer hope that perhaps both sides giving each other time and some wiggle room instead of rushing things up may just eventually thaw the current frozen condition of friendship and civility between the two in this report from Joy Gumatay.
Senators appealed to the CPP, NPA, NDF to be sincere in their quest for lasting peace in the Philippines. This with the ongoing heated word war between President Rodrigo Duterte and Joma Sison, the founder of the Communist Party of the Philippines, which happened after the consecutive attacks from the communist group, killing members of the armed forces of the Philippines, where some were even helpless for being unarmed during the encounters.
Kung talaga ceasefire talaga. Wala yung ganitong sa akin, katraidoran na yan. You're killing soldiers and ambushing policemen and you're killing unarmed soldiers, no? Under ceasefire. And you want peace talk, so mahirap magtiwala.
Despite the situation, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian remains hopeful that the relationship between the government and the leftist group will improve in due time. What's needed now is to wait for the heated emotions to subside, and it will greatly help if the CPP, NPA, NDF will initiate goodwill as they were the ones who started the atrocities amidst ongoing peace talks.
Takes two to tango. Hindi naman pwedeng ang gobyerno lang ang bigay ng bigay. They have to make concrete steps. And I think number one dyan, yung ceasefire at tigil putukan. I think that's the non-negotiable.
Meanwhile, Senator Joel Villanueva urges his fellow legislators in the upper chamber to fast-track the approval of pending bills which aim to further support the needs of soldiers and police officers deployed in war-inflicted areas.
Yung isa sa pinakamahalagang component na matulungan natin yung ating kasundaluhan ay yung massive implementation of the AFP modernization program. At hindi lang yun, no? Just recently when we had our talks with the President when we were in Malacanang and during the security briefing, it's very clear na maraming pangangailangan ang ating kasundaluhan.
Joy Gumatay for The Nation.
More than 2 months since the ISIS-inspired Mauta group sieged the city of Marawi in Lanao del Sur, thousands of civilians have been displaced in cramped-up evacuation centers. While the Secretary of the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the peace process has taken it upon himself to personally check on the current situation of the evacuees, there is one ardent wish which the government could not yet grant for now. Alan Francisco filed this report.
Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process or OPAP, Secretary Jesus Dureza visited an evacuation center in Iligan City today. According to Dureza, as one of the representatives of President Rodrigo Duterte, he needs to know the real situation of the evacuees, especially the children and women.
This is part of the action plan of the Philippines, where OPAP is very much involved in an action plan for women, peace and security.
Through a focus group discussion or FGD, the refugees told Dureza their experiences amidst the war. Dureza finds out that many evacuees want to visit their houses in Marawi City even for a short period of time. Hence, in front of them, Dureza called Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana and they agreed to study and positively solve the said concern soon. However, Dureza explains the safety of the evacuees for now is the most important matter. That is why the government is not yet allowing them to return to the city.
Gusto namin magpunta doon sa Marawi. Kung pwede. Kasi wala na kaming damit kahit isa.
Evacuees have also narrated their other needs to the Secretary.
Yung kailangan namin, mga diaper, at saka yung gatas, asukar, mga ulam, yun lang.
Pera, kung pambili. Yung araw-araw namin, sir, kasi nag-aral yung mga anak ko.
Dureza also reiterates the importance of peace and he also encourages everybody to participate to achieve the goal.
Magkaisa tayo. Muslim man tayo, Maranao man, Tausug man, Maguindanao man, Kristiyano man, Boholano man, Cebuano man. Pilipino tayo eh.
Together with RJ Guevara, I am Alan Francisco for The Nation, Iligan City.
Malacanang clarifies that government forces are continuing their clearing operations against Mauta terrorists in Marawi City. Presidential spokesperson Ernesto Abella issued this clarification in the wake of reports that President Rodrigo Duterte has ordered a stop to the operations, reportedly due to civilians still trapped in the fighting between government forces and the Mauta remnants. According to Abella, the president only wants the troops to be careful so as not to harm the Mauta hostages. He said the chief executive is determined to have an early resolution to the crisis.
It means that they need to proceed with caution.
Proceed with caution.
Proceed
so
with
there's
caution.
no suspension of military.
No, I mean they're still there, right? They cannot they cannot suspend that, but they need to proceed with caution.
Authorities assure there is nothing to worry about the extension of martial law in Mindanao, and they encourage businessmen to invest in the region, at the same time assuring there will be no human rights violations by implementers of martial rule. Eunice Samonte tells us more.
Ready and even more challenged for the better. Leaders from our country's top military defense department strongly consider martial law as a tool and a solution to the insoluble problems we seem to have due to Marawi crisis. The Armed Forces of the Philippines, represented by National Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana and the Chief PNP Director General Ronald Bato de la Rosa, both shared the status of the national security in an event in Makati City, together with the businessmen looking forward to invest in Mindanao. According to the chief PNP, this is the right time to propagate more business and invest in Mindanao, especially because people feel safer and secured with all the security and military forces roving round the clock in the areas down south.
This is the best time for you to put up your business, you invest in Mindanao, because you expect martial law to be, Mindanao to be very peaceful during martial law. You can ask Mindanaoans. They love martial law. They really love martial law.
He also strongly believes that it will not be too long till we retrieve Marawi from the enemy's hands, now reduced to 10%. For the past 2 months of Marawi crisis, more than 100 was reported killed on the government side, while running to 500 is the killed on the side of the terrorists. The Defense Secretary also denied the rumors of soldiers' human rights abuses in the evacuees.
Ano ang pinaka-importanting parte ng Constitution? It is the Bill of Rights. It says, no person should be deprived of his life, liberty, or property without due process. Kung sundin mo lang yan, hindi mo kailangan ng human rights siguro.
Meanwhile, the chief PNP reiterated the support of the National Police to the human rights practiced by no other than them in authority.
Or without CHR, we can do our job properly without violating the human rights of the people. With or without them, we don't need to watch. We don't need them to watch over us.
Running checks and balances, sir.
Well, I will check and I will balance the PNP.
The AFP and PNP is confident that through martial law, they can easily carry out their duties to the nation and to the Filipino people. Eunice Monte for The Nation.
More rains are expected over a wide area of the country tomorrow. This with the weather disturbance codenamed Goryo intensifying into a tropical storm. Pag-asa said it will further enhance the southwest monsoon, pouring heavy rains on Metro Manila and the western part of Luzon. Classes in several areas in Metro Manila and other affected provinces in Luzon were suspended today. Meanwhile, several vehicular accidents were reported in Metro Manila due to the rainy weather. This report.
This CCTV footage taken by MMDA Traffic Command Center shows how a man driving a motorcycle fell off the ground on EDSA along Cubao Monte northbound. A blue car illegally parked near the gutter suddenly appeared in front of the motorcyclist who was traversing the major thoroughfare. Due to slippery road, it became hard for the motorcyclist to prevent himself from bumping onto the other vehicle. Out of anger, he slammed the car's hood, but the driver didn't get off from his car. Instead, he immediately left after witnesses tried to help the victim. This is also taken by MMDA at EDSA General Tirona going to Monumento, Caloocan. Two closed vans hit each other. The red car on their side was damaged as well. These accidents happened amid the intermittent rain due to Typhoon Goryo. MMDA reminds once again to be careful in driving when the road is wet.
We are averaging 42 accidents every day. And alam naman nila na kapag maulan, mas delikado. Yung kondisyon ng kotse, yung visibility, at kung nabanggit mo nga kanina, naka-illegally parked, yun din yung dahilan kung bakit in-intensified natin yung programa natin sa road clearing, lalo na sa mga illegally parked vehicles. So again, just make sure, paalala lang ho, pag lalabas kayo ng inyong tahanan, maayos sa inyo.
MMDA also assures readiness against possible flooding.
Is we will be proactive. So lahat ng mga ating water pumps, ilalabas natin yan dun sa mga flooded areas at saka dun sa mga flood-prone areas. Regarding pumping station, lahat ng pumping stations natin working. So nothing to worry about that. Though we admit we need more.
Meanwhile, no contact apprehension policy continues to be implemented. MMDA as of 5 p.m. show over 200 have violated traffic laws, 5 of which were Anti-Distracted Driving Act or ADA violators. Ria Fernandez for The Nation.
Watching PTV Info Weather, I'm Ice Martinez, providing you the latest for this hour.
Residents living in low-lying areas and landslide-prone areas are warned against a possible week-long wet weather condition caused by the southwest monsoon and outer rain bands of Tropical Storm Goryo. Now, based on the real-time intensity satellite, the blue and red areas are moderate to occasional heavy rain showers over sections of Bicol region, as well as here in portions of southern and central Luzon over the western area and southern sections of Visayas as well. Now, Pag-asa clarifies the southwest monsoon is responsible of the rain showers over western sections of Luzon, including Metro Manila. It is being enhanced by the Tropical Storm Goryo, while it is positioned northeast section of the country. Based on the latest update of Pag-asa, Goryo remains over sea at about 615 kilometers just east of Casiguran, Aurora. It is forecasted to intensify into Category 3 or severe tropical storm by tomorrow. As of now, it is tropical storm category based or packed with gusty winds reaching up to 80 kilometers per hour near the center. However, its maximum sustained winds is not affecting any part of the country. Now, the local Weather Bureau warns of widespread rains, more likely over the weekend, caused by the enhanced southwest monsoon. Looking at our track, Goryo exits Apar by Sunday evening. As of now, Goryo is moving at a slow pace of 13 kilometers per hour northward. Now, widespread rains expected to last until the next week as Goryo moves further out of the country's area of responsibility. Meanwhile, Pag-asa's Flood Forecasting and Warning Center has raised its flood warning advisories over Ilocos region, as well as here in Bataan area, Bulacan and Zambales, and as well as in portions of Aurora province and the rest of Calabarzon, as well as in Bicol and Masbate area, and over the Visayas, over Negros, Bohol, Cebu, and as well as here in Samar and Leyte provinces. Now, people living near mountainous slopes and in low-lying areas and near river systems and waterways are advised to stay alert for possible flash floods and landslides. As for tomorrow, checking out our regional forecast maps in northern Luzon, monsoon rains will trigger flash floods and landslides. It's expected over regions of Ilocos as well as here in Cordillera region and Baguio City. Now, as for central Luzon, monsoon showers all throughout the day is expected over at Zambales as well as here in Bataan and Bulacan area, as well as here in Metro Manila and the rest of Calabarzon provinces. Now, Mimaropa and Bicol region, meanwhile, will be affected by the trough of Goryo that's light to moderate intermittent showers. That's all throughout the day over here in the southern section of Bicol region. As for those of you in the Visayas, brace for light showers mostly over Negros provinces as well as here in Bohol and Samar and Leyte provinces. Now, Mindanao, meanwhile, shall expect better weather tomorrow with possible thunderstorms and brief showers during the day over sections of ARMM and for the rest of Soxargen region. Now, let's head on and take a quick look for our Metro City's forecast over the next few days. And that's the latest for now, only here on PTV Info Weather. This has been Ice Martinez, reminding you to stay dry and stay safe.
Malacanang says the Board of Investments is on track in attaining its goal to reach 500 billion pesos in investment projects this year. Presidential spokesperson Ernesto Abella said BOI registered its investment projects at 272.7 billion pesos as of mid-July this year, a 30% increase from 2016's 210.4 billion pesos. Abella also noted the full operation of these projects will create 56,056 jobs, 50% higher than the 37,487 of the same period in 2016.
Also, investment projects up by 30% as of mid-July of 2017. The Board of Investments yesterday, Board of Investments registered its investment projects to 272.7 billion as of mid-July in 2017, which is a 30% increase from last year's 210.4 billion. This means that the agency's target to reach 500 billion investment projects is on track. The full operation of these projects would create 56,056 jobs, which is 50% higher than last year's 37,487 of the same period. Indeed, the Duterte administration will continue its efforts in attracting more investments to generate more jobs, hence providing secure and a comfortable life for all Filipinos.
President Rodrigo Duterte tonight thanked the private sector for their initiative in making the Philippines a safer and more attractive place for tourists. Speaking at the grand launch of the Rizal Park Hotel in Manila, the president said this is an enhancement to increase national identity for the future generation. He said this will open the door for more jobs and usher greater opportunities. During the State of the Nation address of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, he admonished the Senate to fast-track the passing of the tax reform for acceleration and inclusion, or TRAIN, the first in 20 years' time, to pave the way for the country's progress through its Build, Build, Build project, while benefiting the low-income earners as it gives them more purchasing power. Diane Carrere has the details.
According to the Department of Finance, or DOF, 99% of the taxpayers in the country would benefit from the proposed tax reform program of the Duterte administration. In an international forum, DOF explained that a higher disposable income would be available for spending or saving of an individual once the tax reform becomes a law.
As a package, we're doing it via consumption. So it's either you choose to consume more and then you pay more taxes, but as far as your salaries are concerned, you're going to have more money in your pocket.
DOF reiterates that in the current tax code, the top bracket in the personal income is too low, which is only 500,000 annual income. That is taxed 125,000 plus 32% in excess of 500,000. With the proposed tax reform program, there is a new tax schedule for personal income. Those who earn from 0 to 250,000 annually will not pay any tax, while the top bracket is now adjusted to 5 million pesos and will be taxed with 1,450,000 plus 35% in excess of 5 million pesos. That is why DOF defends that the tax reform bill is not anti-poor, because those who earn more would have to pay more taxes. In the second State of the Nation address of President Duterte, the President calls on the Senate to pass the tax reform for acceleration and inclusion, or TRAIN, which was earlier passed in the House of Representatives. DOF similarly calls on the senators to pass the tax reform bill, not only for a simpler tax code, but also for the implementation of the big infrastructure projects of the administration.
Increasing the taxes on one side but lowering them on the other. This is what we are trying to do. We are really investing in the future. We are investing in better airports. We are investing in better transportation.
Moreover, DOF says that it has been 2 decades already since the tax code has been updated. Dominguez says it is now high time for the tax law be amended in order to incorporate the changes in the inflation environment since 1997. Diane Carrere for The Nation.
The Philippine Stock Exchange Index posted its latest record high for 2017 after hitting 8,037.51 points today. The main stocks gauge rose 0.83% or 65.79 points, which the PSE in a statement said was the highest for the index since August 10, 2016, when it closed at 8,051.40 points. The broader all shares went up 0.56% or 26.47 points to 4,779.80 points. Most of the sectoral indices track the PSEI, with property posting the highest uptick of 1.68%. Volume for the day reached 1.82 billion shares, amounting to 8.17 billion pesos. Advancers led decliners at 98 to 94, while 60 shares were unchanged. The lagoon in the Scarborough Shoal remains off limits to local and Chinese vessels alike, and a joint venture to explore and exploit the vast reserves of oil and natural gas is carefully under review and consideration by both countries, even as the structures on the disputed reefs continue to mushroom. PTV Sweden Vallado reports on this political tightrope the nation carefully treads in balancing the national interests along with our renewed focus on a more independent foreign policy.
Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano reiterated that the government is fully committed in protecting our national interests, particularly in territorial claims. This after Washington-based Center for Strategic and International Studies, or CSIS, released photos showing new developments and structures built in 3 artificial islands constructed by China in West Philippine Sea.
So let me assure you, everything is being done to protect our claim.
Cayetano stressed each country has its own interests to protect. Thus, the Philippines must be vigilant and not be easily influenced by powerful nations and organizations.
They're a very good organization. Their transparency program helped us a lot. But they are an American think tank. They are for American interest, no? Not necessarily Filipino interest.
Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte earlier said that our country will enter into joint oil exploration with China. The Department of Foreign Affairs is now dealing with the issue through ongoing exploration, research, and studies. On the other hand, the Secretary explained that Filipino fishermen are not being bullied by not allowing them to fish at a lagoon in Scarborough Shoal because it has been declared a marine sanctuary.
Because spawning ground to eh. Dito sila dumadami. Diyan pinoprotektahan. So if you allow any fishermen there, you will have a shortage of fish in the future.
Sweden Velado for The Nation.